Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation From Russia with Love, turn 10.5, Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is January 1941. The Commonwealth has two tech roles. First, I tried for anti-submarine warfare at a 7 or higher. PBE generated 7, so I succeeded. Very important tech. I think I said PBE generated a 7. That's not correct. It generated an 11. Second, I tried for improved construction at a 7 or higher. That's what PBE generated a 7 for. So I got 2 out of 2 techs, and I think that pulls me up. According to Silk, I think that makes me average luck so far. Okay, we have some housekeeping. Let's go over some things from Panzer J's turn. Turn 10 is just turning out to be a very busy turn. Lots of action. So there was a battle in British Malaya, and you see there's that artillery there. Panzer J didn't give himself credit on the first round. He had 4 infantry, and one of them was boosted. He did roll a 2, so it could have hit. We PBE'd the 25% chance, and it wasn't that particular artillery that was getting boosted. Next, Panzer J in Kwang Tung built 2 militia last turn, and although Kwang Tung does have IPP value of 2 and can have a maximum of 2 infantry there, the most you can build in a single turn for artillery or for land zone that you didn't originally possess is 1 militia per turn. So instead, Panzer J is going to build that militia here in Rihi. Next, Panzer J railed 2 units in Asia this turn. I think I can't remember which one it is. Asia for Asian, maybe. He gets, no, it's probably resources. Access to resources, I think, gives Japan an extra rail and maybe even extra strategic naval movement. But right now, he decided that he will rail the mountain infantry from Shensi down to Kwang Tung. Oh, that's off camera. He did rail this mountain infantry here. He's going to keep that, but he didn't end up railing this infantry here in Suiyon. And he had a cavalry here that he had moved to Suiyon, so since he's going to just keep that infantry there, he just advanced the cavalry 1 more space up to Rihi. So Rihi has 3 cavalry there. Okay, now, this is really cool. This is something that one of the viewers, my good friend Randall9449 from down there in Australia, pointed out that when Panzer J did an amphibious assault into Queensland with a destroyer dropping off of Marines, that's illegal because of the Great Barrier Reef. So this is the first time Rule 1.14 has come into play for us. You just can't do an amphibious assault from P64, P71, or into Queensland. You can't invade from is that 72? Yeah, P72. So instead, Panzer J altered his move slightly and had this destroyer up here in P63. And then Boston Bruce was incredibly observant about a change in version 4 with scrambling. So in version 3, you could scramble to a territory that had a defending unit. It could even be a defending unit like a naval transport that has no attack value. You can scramble to a facility that's being attacked. Like if there's a strategic bombing of a port or in-port attack, or a port attack, you could scramble to that. So you can scramble to a facility, even if there's no unit there. But in version 4, they added a third place that you can scramble to, and that's to an amphibious assault. So this leads to a lot of interesting possibilities. Let's say that I had a destroyer here in P72, an Anzac destroyer, and then he came in. He would have to set up a screening force to fight my destroyer, and I could decide to scramble those fighters to the screening force battle. or I could decline that. He beats the screening force, and now the amphibious assault occurs. I can scramble to the amphibiously assaulting Navy, kind of that continuing force there. So this is a new rule for V4, and all of us missed it except for Boston Bruce. I tip my hat to Boston Bruce. So let me just take a moment here and talk about how fantastic my group is. We decided to kind of have a talk about it and see what people thought about this, because it was something that was a new rule. We didn't realize it, and Panzer J probably wouldn't have done it if he had known that. He said he would have just kept his naval forces here, or maybe he would have just brought one of his battleships over, something like that, because he did have a battle where he had two TACs, or two tactical bombers. So maybe he would have made a slight change there if he had known that. But Hambone made an excellent point that I think is kind of a good rule for our community. We can't reward. Another thing that we brought up was that this Naval Task Force could have come over here to Sea Zone P70 and just as easily hit right here. You can see it touches right at the, well, maybe you can't see it on screen, but New South Wales does touch P70, and so problem solved. Move the Naval Task Force over here, have them drop off in New South Wales. But Hambone made a really good point, a good rule of thumb. We can't do things to reward the attacker making a mistake. There's two reasons why you don't want to reward the attacker making a mistake. The first is it incentivizes mistakes. You might accidentally make more mistakes if you can somehow use that to your advantage, if you're able to play three-dimensional chess like that. But more importantly, it's not good for us. The best players, people like Hambone, don't want to do that because he wants to get better. He doesn't want to reward mistakes. He wants to reward excellent play. Iron sharpens iron. So decided, okay, we're not going to do that. I had already started talking with Hambone about my turn, getting permission, asking if he wanted to scramble for attacks that were going to occur on my turn. And so I said, hey, I didn't know about this. I didn't remember this rule. I did know about it as a rules editor. I actually helped make sure everything was spelled correctly or whatever. So I did read that sentence at least 4 times, and just did not go into my head. So I said, I've already started processing the turn, or started asking permission, so I'll defer. But Panzer J said, no, absolutely not. That's not right. I made a mistake. I'll take the hit. If you have a group of people like this where everyone's trying above all to be fair to one another and to build consensus and make sure no one's feeling screwed over, it is a rare and precious thing. And I just really treasure everyone that I'm playing with except Boston Bruce. We got a really good group of guys, lots of laughter and fun. And to have this worked out this way was really, really cool. So I really respect that Panzer J said, nope, you can scramble. You can, what makes this tasty, I've got these 2 fighters at an air base. He's got 2 transports with 4 Marines and 2 destroyers that are at, or 3 destroyers that are at reduced attack ability because they're carrying Marines. So I would have 2 at 6 and he'd have 3 at 3. Panzer J said, we'll see what happens. If I don't get, by some miracle, if I don't hit the 2 fighters, then I'm going to retreat after 1 round. I'm just going to take my forces back, which would be great for Anzac, push him back a turn, delay him. So we PBE'd it. I did scramble, and with my 2 fighters, I generated 2 12s. So I completely missed. And then we did the 3 rolls at 3 for the destroyers, and he got 2 2s. So the net effect is these Anzac fighters are destroyed. Silk was joking that I couldn't read the Russian instruction manuals for the fighters. So that's kind of the karma of being really cool and classy and saying, nope, I made a mistake. I'll take the hit. Go ahead, do the attack. And in a way, karma repaid that. So respect And even though it's devastating to lose my fighters, it's wonderful to play with these guys. So kudos, you guys. All right. Let's talk about purchases. So with Great Britain, I got convoy rated for 11, so I only have 26. I will purchase 4 colonial infantry for 12, 1 artillery for 4, that's 16, and then I'm going to lend lease a fighter to the USSR for 10. That brings me to 26. Normally you're limited to building just 2 colonial infantry per turn, and they cost 4 each. The reason I can build more and they only cost 3 each this turn is the special ability Call to Arms. That's the first time an Axis major power declares war on the British Commonwealth. My colonial infantry cost 1 less, and they're not limited to 2 per turn in the next production phase. Now, note that I declared war on an Axis power earlier. Great Britain declared war on Germany earlier, so I still had the Call to Arms in my back pocket, and when Italy declared war on me, then that triggered it. That's why I get the cheaper colonial infantry for this turn. FEC, I have 18 IPP to spend. I'm going to purchase 2 militia for 4. I'll purchase 2 Gurkhas for 8, that's 12, and I'll lend lease a airborne infantry to the KMT for 3, that's 15. I'll save 3 IPP. For Anzac, I have 9 IPP to spend. I'll purchase 2 militia for 4, 1 anti-aircraft for 4, that's 8, and I'll save 1 IPP. Just to preview the French, there's not going to be any purchases. Okay, combat movement. These red markers aren't me marking places I'm going to fight. It's for later on talking about places that Hambone can pounce on me. So I don't want my opponents to think that's where battles are going to be. Okay, the first movement is from C zone A19, or from A27. A fighter will come off this carrier and go on map here in A19. From southern England, 1 fighter will go on map here in A21. And then from C zone A35, this light cruiser is going to move 1, 2 into M2. From A44, 1 British light cruiser, 1 Anzac light cruiser will move to C zone M2. So these guys here, M2. Oh, I thought they were in A44. I'm so sorry. They were in Gibraltar. They'll come out of port to A44. This guy will come out of port to A44 as well. So I've got 1 coastal defense ship and 3 light cruisers from that side of the map. Oh God, I suck, you guys. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Other direction. Yeah, that should be better. Okay, so you can see from A35, I brought 1 British light cruiser. From Gibraltar, I brought an Anzac light cruiser and a normal light cruiser, or a British light cruiser, and a coastal defense ship into M2. Then down here in southern, or in lower Egypt, these ships, which is a battle cruiser, 5 heavy cruisers, and a destroyer, will come out of port into I5. Then they'll move 1, 2 into M. Is that on camera? No, they'll move 1, 2 here into M4. Now, a Board Gaming Bro has 2 submarines here, and these guys are moving through to try to get over to M2. In V4, you can't use submarines as picket lines. You can't get them to stop the fleet and fight you, but you can choose to kind of have 1 round of pot shot at them, you know, where these ships move into there, and a Board Gaming Bro could decide, yep, I want to have 1 round of combat, but of course he declined that combat. So they all move over here to M2. So M2 has a bunch of ships. All right, those are my 3 combats. Oh, no, and then I'm gonna convoy raid way up there in A7, those 2 subs. We'll do convoy raiding there. So, let's come down here to, now this is where we do want to zoom in a bit. All right, let's do our 2 convoy raids. Is there anything I'm missing? Nope, I think that's everything. Okay, so 2 submarines. The red is the attacker. I get a +2. So I maxed out the damage because I do 4 - 1. So 2 points of damage to Germany. I might be off on Hambone. I might not have added his 5. Right now I have him at 62. Let me know if that should be 67. I forget if I've done the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact for him. Okay, then we've got 1 fighter at 6. This will be for the submarine in A19. Let's talk about that for a second. Up in A19, Hambone has 2 submarines, and that's kind of a magic number. If he had 1 submarine, I would go after him with a destroyer, because I get to add a 4, and he gets to add, I get to add 4 out of 12 chance of hitting him, and he gets to add a 3 out of 12 chance of hitting me. But once you have multiple subs, and if you can only get 1 fighter in there, it doesn't make sense for you to bring in a destroyer, because I'm only adding in 1 shot at 4, and he's adding 2 shots at 3 to hit me back. So that's why I'm just doing the 1 fighter in A19. Yeah, that's on screen. 1 at 6. Miss. Okay, and then we've got the similar thing with the fighter from southern England that's on map in A21. 1 shot at 6. Miss, that's a 9. Okay, so rats, two turns ago I got 2 hits, but the last 2 turns I've missed. Now we got that big naval combat. It's a whole bunch of stuff. Why don't we do the 5 heavy cruisers at 6? All I need is 1 hit. I did ask Hambone if he wanted to scramble his 2 fighters into that disaster, and of course he said no. There's 5 at 6. Okay, now why can I get 5 hits there, but on my 2 fighters I couldn't hit a sub? That's funny. All right, so that's a hit, and he's got 1 shot, 1 retaliatory shot with his sub or his destroyer at 4, and he misses. All right, that is the end of combat. Now we'll go on to non-combat movement. Let's take a peek at London. Whoop. Okay, from London, I'm going to have 2 Marines and 4 fighters shift over here to southern England. That's 4 fighters. Okay. And then from London, I've got 2 naval transports that are in port. Is that on screen to the side there, my task force marker? Yeah, okay. So I've got these 2 naval transports that are here in port in London. One of them is going to leave port to A22 and then go to A21 and then go in port here. Now, why can he do that? When this fighter came out here on map and went after those subs, there was 1 round of combat. That's why I rolled, and I forget what I rolled, but a high roll did not hit. But the defending subs submerge after 1 round of combat. In V4, that's an important concept. It's not your choice that if you want to keep the submarines unsubmerged. Hambone would have submerged anyway, because if he's just got this 1 aircraft and he can't hit it, why would he want to stick around? But that's a good rule to know. It's not your choice if you want to stay unsubmerged as a defending submarine. After 1 round, you must submerge. So I can just move in here and go into port there in southern England. Next, another naval transport is going to leave London, go into sea at A22, and do strategic naval move. It's going to move over, well, it'll pick up this anti-aircraft artillery, and it'll go, we have to zoom out, I think, so you can see it getting down to Gibraltar. But it's going to use strategic, oh, it's good, you can see that, it's all on screen, great. So this is a free, then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into port in Gibraltar. dropping off that anti-aircraft artillery in Gibraltar. All right, then what else is on my to-do list? From southern England, one air transport here in southern England. This air transport is going to pick up one Marine. This chip's going to go under this other stack of Marines. So I have 3 Marines left in southern England, and it's going to fly this Marine down to Gibraltar. Add that air transport and that Marine. Okay. Now, I want to talk about Hambone's cleverness with what he did in Normandy. So, if you notice it, Hambones has this air base that he built in Normandy. He has 3 fighters, a seaplane, a medium bomber, a tactical bomber. This is very clever because this has the ability to project power out into the Atlantic to a number of my convoy lanes. There's 4 kill zones that have been set up, and he can bring 6 to 8 subs, 3 to 6 fighters, the medium bomber, the tactical, to any of these 4 spaces, and just pounce on me. There's really, I can't get enough of a naval force together to protect myself from that. So I'm going to have to leave these convoy lines open, vulnerable to counterattack. And I can't even send, like I've got the Americans on convoy escort duty. I can't do that because he'll just pounce with his subs and kill those. As he said in his last video, any British ship that he sinks is a glory. So this is horrible. I also want to salute Hambone for his patience in waiting to set up this situation where he's been waiting with his subs. He hasn't put them, he hasn't risked them too much, and he's waiting to develop advanced submarines, which will give him the Wolfpack ability. So I'm going to have open convoy lanes on his turn, and he might have Wolfpack, and he could convoy raid me with 9 submarines next turn. Things are looking very bad for the Allies, in my opinion. I mean, right now, the Axis have 7 victory points, the Comintern have 4, and the Allies have 3 victory points. It feels very, I feel very pessimistic. We'll see what happens. Thank goodness I developed anti-submarine warfare. Okay, from Sea Zone A27, 1 light carrier and 3 destroyers are going to move up here to A19 and catch that plane. The subs can normally interdict movement. You know, if I wanted to move into a sea zone, if they weren't submerged, then they could decide they want to go 1 round of combat with me. I didn't need to ask Hambone about that because, again, the submerge rule. These Americans are on convoy escort duty. These British ships are not. And then from A35, these 2 destroyers are going to move 1, 2 up to A19. So in A19, I've got the light carrier with a fighter and then 5 destroyers, and they're all just normal. They're not on convoy escort duty. All right. Then also from A35, now I'm going to have that light carrier with the tactical move down to A44, get out of his kill zone spot. And then from A44, I'm going to have that naval transport that's there go up to A21 and go in port. Hopefully I don't need to put that on camera. It's the shuffle that I've been doing time and again. From Sea Zone M2, all these ships, except this Anzac, we killed this destroyer, all those ships, except the Anzac, are going to go into port here. From Gibraltar, I'm going to have this light carrier go out to sea to A44 with this fighter. All right, it's going to go out there. Okay, so let's try to give you a little disposition here. I've got 1 battle cruiser, 5 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, and 1 coastal defense ship, along with 2 naval transports. All of that is in port in Gibraltar. And then in Gibraltar itself, I've got 1 militia, 3 infantry, mountain infantry, Marines, and an anti-aircraft artillery, a French medium bomber, and a air transport. The important things to know about up in England are I've got that fighter on map in A23, a fighter on map in A22, and a fighter on map in A21. And then 4 fighters in southern England. I wonder if I should move. No, I think I need to have those ships there. I think I'm going to move 1 battleship, again calling an audible. I'm going to move 1 battleship from London to A22. Just giving myself a little flexibility here. Am I going to regret that if he comes over? No, I can't do it. I got to make a commitment to London. London is very, very important, especially since I'm not building a single unit there this turn. In fact, I think I'm going to take 1 militia out of southern England and move it into London, because that way, worst comes to worst, if there's something I'm missing, I can scramble the 4 fighters from southern England over there. So London has a militia in it. Probably good to always have at least 1 militia. And then southern England only has 6 militia. I have a feeling I messed up. I think southern England only has 1 AA gun. I forgot to take that chip off when I took out the AA that I was bringing down to. I don't think southern England had 3 AA. So correct me if I did take 1 down to Gibraltar. So correct me if I think it should have 1. But if I'm wrong, someone like Didier, he'll catch it. Okay. I think now we're going to go over here to Africa. Down here in Transjordan, we're going to run away, have these 2 infantry move into Lower Egypt. So 2 infantry, 2 artillery from Transjordan over to Lower Egypt. And then South Africa. I'm going to rotate the camera down. Okay, so there's that seaplane there. And I know, Boss and Bruce, you're mad at me, but this seaplane serves an important purpose. Hambone has cleverly positioned himself where he could bring 1 submarine to Sea Zone A54 and then bring another submarine to I1. And if you do that, as the Germans or Italians, then you kind of prevent or you dissuade the British player from building in this minor factory in Cape Town, because I have to trace, in order to place a unit there, I basically have to trace a supply path there. And right now, the way things are, it'd be very easy for them to cut off a supply path to me. They've definitely got the supply path potentially interdicted by submarines in the Mediterranean with the Italians, and then they would have it interdicted with the Germans. So sorry, Bruce, I've got to keep that plane down here, but I will move it over to Madagascar. So I'll fly from, what is that, Southwest Africa, over to Madagascar. And then Cape Town, I'm going to rail this artillery to Rhodesia. Now let's go over to Calcutta. Okay, so I'm going to have one Anzac motorized infantry is going to move up here to Bengal. And then from Bengal, one Anzac infantry is going to move into Calcutta. And then from Burma, one Anzac infantry is going to rail to Maharashtra. And that is the end of my movement. Let's go to placement of units. So down here in Sydney, the last hurrah, I will put 2 militia. I think that brings me up to 7. And 1 anti-aircraft artillery. And then in FEC in India, I'm going to put 2 Gurkhas in Bengal, bringing me up to 5 Gurkhas there. And I'm going to build 1 militia in Maharashtra and 1 militia in Burma. I'm going to lend-lease the, out of this factory, I'm going to build my airborne infantry and use the Burma Road to send it to Boston Bruce. So he has 2 airborne infantry with the KMT in Yunnan. And then we'll go down here to Africa, try to put in some various, rotate down again a little bit. Okay, so I'll put 1 infantry in Rhodesia, 1 colonial infantry in South Africa, and 1 colonial infantry in Cape Town. And then the 4th colonial infantry I will put in Lower